Hey guys, welcome to Burn Bootcamp Podcast. I'm Gabby.
I am James.
Guess what we're talking about today?
We're going to talk about protein and all protein sources, what's going to be beneficial for your body, what's not going to be beneficial for you, and how can we get you in a camp tomorrow. So now just to give you, if you wouldn't mind, give us a brief overview of the athlete games and how important they are to the community.
So athlete games, we have regional games that usually are in August of the year, and then all burn trainers from around the nation can sign up for the athlete games, and then there's about 10 different regionals, and then from all those regions together, it's top 16 men, top 16 women, and now we have a masters division as well. So top 16 in the masters, men and women, you have a chance. We'll make it to finals, which is usually in October, and then that is a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday usually. So
it's my understanding you won a couple of these.
I did. I won twice. So
that's awesome.
It was a great experience for sure.
Well, good.
So.
Well, let's dive into what protein does and what protein powders mean, or protein in general means to the body. If you can give us, what's your definition of what protein powders are and what they do for us?
So protein powders are a powder form of protein that can come from plants, eggs, or milk, and then milk has the casein and the whey protein. So, yeah. Gotcha.
We're splitting up protein powders, right? You look at your whey concentrates, right? Whey concentrates are probably the most widely available.
Right.
The protein count in a lot of these are relatively low compared to some of the other counterparts in the category. Whey concentrates are ideally more complete proteins. Mm-hmm. Fats are in there, carbs are in there. Right. It's typically like picking up a chicken breast inside of broccoli, right? You have your isolates, where we kind of take all of that out. And it's just strictly protein. Bioavailability is higher with isolates than you would concentrates. And then we go a step further with hydrolyslates, where we're taking away everything and adding some digestive enzymes. So typically people who have some digestive issues do better as you move up the scale. Obviously concentrates a little tougher on the digestive system. Isolates get better, hydrolyslates end up the highest. So, so we'll circle back and then we'll just discuss different forms.
Sure.
Of getting protein in. Obviously, powders is one we discussed.
Powders is one. We get protein bars as well. And then the pre-made shakes already as well.
Yep.
And then obviously whole foods.
Yep, 100%. Important. Yeah. And I never try to negate, and I was blessed to own some nutrition stores, that I get the question more often than not is like, why don't I need a protein powder? It's because it's hard eating 10 chicken breasts throughout the day.
Definitely.
And it's super easy to knock out 25 grams of protein in one sitting and put it in a sip, knock it back, and be done with it. And the idea is, right, to get as much protein in throughout the day as humanly possible.
Sure.
It just makes it easier.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, we're circled the convenience, right? That's really what we do with the protein powders and these other consumables that are grab-and-go items, if you will. When you're looking at proteins, it just make it just super easy to suck in as much protein as humanly possible.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Let's discuss some of the benefits added protein into your diet can do just for overall muscle health, muscle growth, muscle recovery that you've seen from the trainer side.
Definitely. I mean, you can't expect it right at, super fast results. You got to take it with time. At least if you're trying to get usually at least 100 grams, right, is the suggested a day. And then once you get to that, typically 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, however much you weigh.
Yep.
If you hit that consistently, you'll see a huge difference. In training, you'll feel stronger, and you'll gain the muscle as well.
Obviously, protein is the building block for all cells in the body, right?
Right.
And obviously, adding that extra added protein throughout the day, when you can get closer, to 1 gram per pound of body weight, and I've seen upwards of 2 grams per pound of body weight, the overall recovery throughout the day goes up. Muscle health, bone health. I mean, there's a litany of digestible proteins out there that'll help get that number in faster. It's just difficult, and that's why we always circle back to our protein additives. We're talking about powders, bars, any supplementation. It just makes it easier, right?
Right.
From someone who consumes a ton of meat in a day, even it's tough for me, and I probably go through 8 burger patties and 4 hot dogs in a day, and it's still hard for me to get north of 200 grams of protein a day, therefore needing 3 or 4 protein shakes to get that optimal amount right. Yeah. So what are some of the myths that you've seen behind protein powders that people freak out about, right?
So they say it's only for bodybuilders and athletes. That's not true. It benefits every individual. So everybody should be having their protein.
What if it makes me bulky?
it won't make you bulky. You got to have enough of it constantly, like an excessive amount of it, you know.
And the one I always want to hammer home the most is because we're always looking for things that make us full, right?
Right.
The most satiating macro by a mile is protein.
Right.
And a lot of the new studies, I know, and I'm sure you're probably some of the old school of thought was 25 to 35 grams in a sitting is about the max. Anything else can upset your stomach. A lot of the newer studies saying that you could take as much protein as you want in a sitting.
Doesn't matter. And
your body digests it slowly over time, ideally between 10 and 12 grams an hour. Obviously, there's probably an apex somewhere where it upset your stomach, but this idea or this thought where I can have too much protein in a day, not necessarily the case, right?
No, definitely not.
Awesome.
Definitely not.
So how do you choose the right protein for yourself?
So I look at the ingredients, right? I want to make sure the ingredient list isn't too lengthy, right? Whole ingredients. It has to taste good to me. It has to taste 100%. Good, right? I don't want to drink something that I'm like, ugh, doesn't taste good. Yeah. I mix it with milk, half water, just so with just the water, it might be a little too bland. You add a little bit of milk. You just do half and half, and then if you do the whole thing with milk, it might be a little bit milky, a little bit. Sure. But so taste and what I'm putting into my body is probably the most important. Yeah,
I always push back when it's like, well, how much liquid should I use? What should I mix it with? Right. Whatever your preference.
Whatever you want.
Want to mix it in yogurt? Have at it. Yeah. Want to mix it in water? Do that too.
Sure.
What I've started to do recently myself with my protein powders, after a while, I want to feel like I'm eating food.
Right.
So I think you touched on it briefly. If I had a little bit of milk, a little bit of water, I can mix it almost like a pudding.
Right.
And eat it like that. I can throw some other, I throw my creatine in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Extra collagen in there. But to circle back, if we're looking at, what protein benefit us the most is I always want to caution a lot of the large format or the grocery convenience because those things are made at scale.
Sure.
They're not necessarily taking a lot of it or paying a lot of attention in what they're putting in their powders is kind of the telltale sign of an incomplete protein. A whole protein source should have around 20 essential and non-essential aminos. And you're looking at roughly, if you want to, so I'm sure we've all, maybe we have not heard of amino spiking. Amino spiking is where they amplify the amino content in any protein. I've seen a lot of these on the market, some in the large format, grocery outlets I've seen. Whereas the way you could tell if your protein's loaded in aminos and not necessarily a protein building block or a muscle building block protein is the leucine content. So leucine should make up roughly, 11 grams of that 20 overall. So 11% total, that should be your makeup. And that's where you could tell if you're getting a complete protein source or not, because I've seen a lot of bad ones out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So now that we kind of touched on that briefly, what are other tips that you would give to get protein in throughout the day?
I'd say stay hydrated, right? Stay hydrated. You want to balance your protein intake. Try to mix it up with having whole foods, not just, the protein powder itself. So you want to, I'd say I like to have one after a workout and then eat a meal, have another one, maybe before going to bed. So kind of space it out during the day.
What I like what you tapped on there is what I've seen from a lot of people who are looking to make their meals more satiating, because obviously a lot of us are trying to cut a little bit. So maybe we're bringing some calorie count down. And if you're bringing calorie count down, you're going to be hungry.
Sure.
So let's add another 20, 25 grams of protein in there from our Afterburn to really to make that satiating, longer lasting, pushing that hunger aside. And it's super fast. It's super easy. You can mix it in water or milk. Right. And it's not like you're sucking down another, you're eating a chicken breast, which can be pretty heavy.
Sure.
But to kind of touch base on that, and I wanted to circle back, because I always say all the time when people will come in and say, well, what's special about this? Nothing. It's liquefying a chicken breast.
Right.
It's really, that's all it is.
Yeah.
You're taking 20 grams of protein, you're making it super fast and super easy.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to touch on, and I want to touch base on it, is what are your thoughts on some of the plant-based and some of the alternative proteins that are not whey-based?
So they might not have as much protein in as whey. And then some people do struggle with the whey with their stomach. They might not, it might not digest well with them. So they do the plant-based instead. It is a little bit grittier, a little grittier consistency.
A little earthy, right?
A little earthy, yeah. But there's plenty of options out there.
Right.
Plenty of options out there, which make it easy.
And so I would touch base on, when I was a store owner, was this bioavailability.
Yes.
If you're looking at whey, it's typically higher. Any meat-based protein, the bioavailability meaning how much you can ingest in a sitting, or how much you ingest from that source. Whey-based are typically upwards of 80, 90%. When you start shrinking that down, we talked about earlier with isolates and hydrolyslates, it's typically 98, 99%. So you see 20 grams of protein, you're getting 20 grams of protein. Right. Plant-based proteins aren't typically as high, but at that point, it's a preference, right? Maybe I'm vegan, maybe I don't want a whey-based protein. Maybe I'm lactose intolerant. Maybe I've got some digestive issues. Where to touch base on what you touched on is those are definitely going to help me with my stomach issues,
right?
And also allow me to bring in extra protein throughout the day.
Sure.
And maybe just diversifying some protein intake was also make your not upset the gut biome too much. So, so to circle back and kind of put a bow on everything we just talked about. Starting from how much protein intake you should get in a day. How would we relate this to the average, gym goer downstream?
So average protein intake a day, at least 100 grams a day, right? And you can definitely hit that and supplement it with protein powder.
Can I do too much protein in a day?
You can, but that's rare.
Tough, right?
It's very tough
super
to find.
Tough,
yeah, super hard to find.
Come from someone who only eats meat.
Yeah,
it's almost
impossible. It's almost impossible
to do too much. But you could.
You could, but most people, the majority, do not.
Not gonna make me bulky.
That's right. No, not gonna make you bulky. You gotta
recover faster.
You gotta recover faster for sure. Not gonna make you bulky. You gotta eat enough of it to make you bulky. So
okay. What I do want to touch base on is kind of circle back just to overall protein intake sources, right? Is that under no circumstance are we negating whole foods.
No.
Please get as much whole foods as possible.
Eat food.
Fruits, veggies, whatever you need to do. Only thing we're doing is supplement, and that's the idea of supplementation is to be additive at all times. And I think we touched on this a handful of times throughout this talk, is that we're not getting enough protein in.
Right.
None of us are. And the way to do that faster is to find something like Afterburn, where we're knocking out 20 to 23 grams of protein in a sitting, adding it to a meal, making meals more satiating and get us through the day.
Right.
And also making sure if you're not doing Afterburn that you're getting the right ones, right? That you know what you're looking for on an ingredient panel. You're not looking for something that's loaded in a ton of aminos.
Sure.
You want something, again, that leucine content that's within a ratio of the overall total overall protein content. And you're finding the right protein as far as a concentrate and an isolate or hydrolyslate or plant-based, something that's going to work for your digestion, and something that's going to be taste-wise, right? And I've been saying this, I've been in consumables for a long time. If it didn't taste good, no one's going to drink it.
Sure.
I don't care if it cures cancer. If it doesn't taste good, no one's going to touch it.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm Gabi.
James. Appreciate you guys. Please take a look at all our podcasts and all of the content that we have. We're always looking to take care of the community.
Like, subscribe below. And let's finish off with 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.